The morning light filtered through the cream-colored curtains of the Anderson home in East Nashville, casting soft shadows across Lily Anderson's bedroom. At 9 years old, Lily couldn't see the golden rays dancing on her walls, but she could feel the warmth on her face as she sat cross-legged on her bed, her fingers tracing the raised dots of her Braille book with practiced ease. "Lily, breakfast is ready." Rebecca Anderson's voice carried up the stairs, firm yet tinged with the perpetual anxiety that had become her constant companion over the past 4 years. Lily carefully marked her place in the book and made her way to the door, her hand gliding along the wall she knew by heart. Every corner, every piece of furniture in this house had been memorized through countless repetitions. The 17 steps down to the kitchen, the slight dip in the hardwood floor near the bottom, the way the air cooled as she approached the kitchen, where the ceiling fan always ran. Rebecca stood at the granite counter, arranging scrambled eggs and toast on a plate with meticulous precision. At 38, she maintained an appearance of controlled elegance. Her dark brown hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail, her business casual attire crisp despite the early hour. But her eyes, a deep hazel that Lily had inherited, betrayed the sleepless nights and constant worry that gnawed at her. "Careful, sweetheart," Rebecca said automatically as Lily approached the kitchen table, even though the girl had navigated this route hundreds of times without incident. "I know, Mom," Lily replied with the patience of someone who had learned to accept being constantly cautioned. She settled into her chair, her hands finding the plate exactly where it always was, 3 inches from the edge, fork on the left, napkin underneath. Rebecca poured orange juice into Lily's favorite cup, the one with raised bumps that made it easy to grip. "We have your orientation and mobility session at 10, then speech therapy at 2. Mrs. Patterson called yesterday. She wants to add an extra Braille lesson this week. Can we maybe skip one session?" Lily asked, her voice small. "Just this once? I wanted to practice my guitar." "Lily, we've talked about this." Rebecca's tone softened, but the answer remained unchanged. "These sessions are important for your development. The guitar can wait." Lily picked at her eggs, feeling the familiar weight of disappointment settle in her chest. The guitar, a 3/4 size acoustic that her father, Daniel, had given her last year, sat in the corner of her room, played less and less as her schedule grew more packed with therapies and lessons that Rebecca deemed essential. "Your father called again last night," Rebecca said, her voice tightening imperceptibly at the mention of her ex-husband. "He wants to take you out this weekend." Lily's face brightened immediately. "Really? Where?" "I haven't decided if it's appropriate yet." Rebecca began clearing the counter with sharp, efficient movements. "He didn't provide detailed plans, and you know how I feel about last-minute arrangements." The familiar tension crept into the kitchen. Lily had learned, at an age far too young, to navigate the complicated waters between her divorced parents. Daniel Anderson, once a promising country musician who now made his living as a session guitarist in Nashville's numerous recording studios, had a spontaneity that Rebecca viewed as recklessness. Their marriage had crumbled under the weight of Lily's diagnosis and their fundamentally different approaches to handling it. "Mom, Dad is always careful with me," Lily said quietly. "Careful?" Rebecca's laugh was bitter. "Your father thinks taking you to crowded places and exposing you to loud environments is being careful. He doesn't understand that the world isn't safe for someone in your condition." "I'm blind, Mom, not broken." The words hung in the air between them, sharp and unexpected. Lily rarely pushed back, rarely challenged the protective bubble Rebecca had constructed around them both. But lately, in the quiet moments when she lay in bed listening to George Strait's albums on her Braille-labeled CD player, she wondered what else existed beyond the walls of their home and the structured routine of her days. Rebecca's expression crumpled for a moment, before she regained her composure. "I know you're not broken, baby. I want to keep you safe. Is that so wrong?" Lily didn't answer. She finished her breakfast in silence, while Rebecca busied herself with phone calls, coordinating appointments, and checking in with the various therapists and specialists who populated Lily's carefully managed life. Later that morning, as Lily worked through her orientation and mobility exercises with Mr. Chen, her instructor, Rebecca sat in the living room with her laptop, responding to emails from her office at Platinum Records. As the head of marketing for one of Nashville's most influential country music labels, Rebecca had connections that extended throughout the industry. She had orchestrated campaigns for rising stars and established legends alike. Her strategic mind and relentless work ethic earning her both respect and admiration. But success at work couldn't fill the void that had opened in her personal life. The divorce had been finalized 2 years ago, but the wounds remained fresh. Daniel had accused her of smothering Lily, of letting fear dictate every decision. He'd wanted their daughter to experience life, to take risks, to fall and learn to get back up. Rebecca saw it differently. She saw the dangers he ignored, the potential disasters he dismissed with a wave of his hand and a reassuring smile. "Mrs. Anderson?" Mr. Chen's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Lily did exceptionally well today. Her spatial awareness is really improving." Rebecca looked up to see Lily standing proudly in the hallway, her white cane held correctly, a genuine smile on her face. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Rebecca said, her own smile not quite reaching her eyes. After Mr. Chen left, Rebecca fixed lunch while Lily retreated to her room. The sound of tentative guitar chords drifted down the stairs. Simple melodies that Lily played by ear, having memorized the finger positions through touch and repetition. The music was tinged with something Rebecca couldn't quite name. Longing, perhaps, or a quiet rebellion against the boundaries that defined her world. Rebecca's phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "We need to talk. It's important. About Lily." Her jaw tightened. Everything with Daniel was supposedly important. She typed back, "I'm busy. Email me your thoughts." His response came immediately. "This needs to be in person. Tonight. Please, Becca." He only called her Becca when he was serious. Despite her better judgment, she agreed to meet him at a coffee shop downtown after Lily's evening tutoring session. That night, as Lily worked through her homework with Ms. Rivera, her tutor, Rebecca drove through Nashville's evening traffic toward the Hideaway Cafe, a quiet spot tucked away from the honky-tonk chaos of Broadway. The December air was crisp, the city already decorated for Christmas with lights strung across buildings and wreaths adorning every storefront. Daniel was already waiting at a corner table when she arrived, his sandy blonde hair slightly longer than she remembered, his flannel shirt and jeans a stark contrast to her tailored blazer and slacks. He stood when he saw her, that familiar nervous gesture of running his hand through his hair, making her chest tighten with unwanted memories. "Thanks for coming," he said. Rebecca sat down without preamble. "What's this about, Daniel?" He leaned forward, his blue eyes earnest. "I got something special. And before you say no, just hear me out." Her defenses immediately went up. "If this is about taking Lily to another one of your gigs..." "It's not a gig." "Well, it is, but it's different." He pulled out his phone and showed her a message. "Jack Morrison, you remember Jack, he plays pedal steel. His sister works at the Bluebird Cafe. They're doing an intimate acoustic night this Saturday. George Strait. Just him and a guitar. 50 people max." Rebecca felt her heart skip. George Strait, Lily's idol. The singer whose voice had provided comfort during the darkest days after her diagnosis, whose songs she played on repeat until she'd memorized every word, every note. "Jack got me 2 VIP passes," Daniel continued. "Front row. I want to take Lily." "Absolutely not." "Becca, don't Becca me." "The Bluebird? It's crowded. It's loud. It's her dream," Daniel interrupted, his voice rising slightly before he caught himself. Other patrons glanced their way. He lowered his voice. "When was the last time you saw her really smile? Really light up? She lives in a prison, Rebecca. A comfortable, safe prison that you've built. Because you're terrified of letting her experience anything real." "How dare you?" "I dare because I'm her father, and I'm watching her shrink into herself. She's 9 years old. She should be making friends, exploring, making mistakes. Instead, she's in therapy 6 days a week, learning how to exist in a world you barely let her be part of." Rebecca's hands trembled as she gripped her coffee cup. "She's vulnerable. Do you understand that? She can't see. She can't protect herself the way other children can. One wrong step, one careless person, and she could get hurt. Or," Daniel said softly, "one magical evening, one perfect moment, and she could remember what it feels like to be alive." They sat in silence for a long moment, the cafe's ambient noise filling the space between them. Rebecca knew Daniel was right about one thing. Lily had seemed increasingly withdrawn lately. The joy that used to animate her face when she played guitar or discovered a new song had dimmed. But admitting that meant acknowledging that her protective measures might be causing harm. "The venue is accessible," Daniel pressed on. "They have accommodations for people with disabilities. I'll be with her every second. And Becca, this is George Strait. Do you know what this would mean to her? She's my daughter too, Daniel. Don't act like you're the only one who cares about her happiness. Then prove it. Let her have this one night, one experience that's about joy instead of therapy and schedules and staying safe." Rebecca closed her eyes. The thought of Lily in a crowded venue, surrounded by strangers, vulnerable and dependent on Daniel's watchfulness, made her stomach churn. But the memory of Lily's face that morning, the quiet resignation in her voice when Rebecca had denied her simple request to skip a therapy session, haunted her. "I need to think about it," she finally said. Daniel nodded, recognizing this as a small victory. "The show's Saturday at 7. I'll wait for your call." As Rebecca drove home through the twinkling lights of Nashville, her mind churned with competing fears and hopes. She found Lily already in bed, her homework completed, her room dark except for the nightlight that she kept more for Rebecca's benefit than her own. "Mom?" Lily's voice was sleepy. "Yes, baby? Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever wonder what it would be like if I could see?" The question struck Rebecca like a physical blow. "Sweetheart, why would you ask that?" "Because sometimes I think you wish I was different, that you wish I was easier." Rebecca sat on the edge of the bed, her hand finding Lily's. "You are perfect exactly as you are. I don't wish you were different. I just wish I could protect you from everything that might hurt you." "But what if being protected hurts too?" Rebecca had no answer. She kissed Lily's forehead and whispered goodnight. But the question followed her down the hallway and into her own sleepless night. Friday morning arrived with a cold front that dropped Nashville's temperature into the 30s. Rebecca stood in her office at Platinum Records, looking out over Music Row while her assistant, Jennifer Walsh, briefed her on the upcoming week's promotional schedule. "The Henderson brothers need approval on their album art by Monday," Jennifer was saying. "And Kristen Cole wants to move her interview with Rolling Stone to Thursday instead of Tuesday." Rebecca nodded absently, her mind elsewhere. She hadn't called Daniel back yet. The deadline was approaching. If she was going to allow this concert, she needed to decide today. "Mrs. Anderson?" Jennifer's voice broke through her thoughts. "Are you okay? You seem distracted." "I'm fine," just a personal matter." Rebecca turned from the window. "Jennifer, do you have children?" The young woman blinked at the unexpected question. "No, ma'am, but I have 2 younger brothers I helped raise after my mom passed." "How did you know when to let them take risks? When to stop protecting them?" Jennifer considered the question carefully. "I think you never stop worrying. But at some point, you realize that protecting them from everything means protecting them from living. My youngest brother wanted to try skateboarding. I was terrified he'd break his neck. But watching him land his first trick, seeing that pride on his face, I realized some risks are worth it." Rebecca returned to her desk, Jennifer's words echoing in her mind throughout the day. During lunch, she found herself researching the Bluebird Cafe, checking their accessibility features, reading reviews about their crowd management. Everything Daniel had said was true. It was one of the most respected, well-run venues in Nashville. Small, intimate, professional. By 3 o'clock, she'd made her decision. She called Daniel. "I have conditions," she said without greeting. She could hear the smile in his voice. "I'm listening. You pick her up at 6:30. The show ends by 10, and she's home by 10:30. You stay with her every single second. If she gets overwhelmed or uncomfortable, you leave immediately. And Daniel, if anything happens to her, anything at all, nothing will happen. I promise." After hanging up, Rebecca felt a mixture of terror and relief. She'd agreed to something that went against every protective instinct she'd developed over the past 4 years. But as she drove home that evening, watching Nashville's skyline glow against the darkening sky, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was doing the right thing. Lily was practicing guitar when Rebecca arrived home, her small fingers moving across the frets with increasing confidence. Rebecca stood in the doorway, listening to a melody she didn't recognize, something original, something Lily had created herself. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Rebecca said when the song ended. Lily turned toward her voice, her face lighting up. "Really? I've been working on it for a while." "I can tell." Rebecca sat beside her on the bed. "Lily, I have something to tell you. Your father is taking you somewhere tomorrow night." "Where?" Rebecca took a breath. "To see George Strait at the Bluebird Cafe." The guitar nearly slipped from Lily's hands. "What? Really? Mom? Are you serious?" "I'm serious. But you need to promise me you'll be careful and listen to your father." Lily launched herself into Rebecca's arms, her joy so pure and unbridled that Rebecca felt tears spring to her eyes. When was the last time she'd seen her daughter this happy? When had simple excitement become so rare in their carefully controlled lives? "Thank you, thank you, thank you," Lily was saying, her words tumbling over each other. "I can't believe it. George Strait. I can't believe this is real." That night, Lily was too excited to sleep. Rebecca could hear her in her room, playing her CDs, singing along to Amarillo by Morning and The Chair, with an enthusiasm that made Rebecca's heart ache. She picked up her phone and texted Daniel, "Thank you for pushing me on this." His response came quickly. "Thank you for trusting me. You won't regret it." Meanwhile, across town in his modest apartment in the Gulch, Daniel was making his own preparations. He'd called Jack Morrison 3 times to confirm the details, checked and rechecked the accessibility features at the Bluebird, and even driven by the venue to time the route and identify the best parking spots. His apartment was a stark contrast to the house he'd once shared with Rebecca, cluttered with guitar cases, recording equipment, and the general chaos of a musician's life. But on his dresser, in a simple frame, was a photo of Lily from before she'd lost her vision, her eyes bright and full of wonder as she watched him play guitar. The divorce had been the hardest thing he'd ever gone through, but staying would have been impossible. He and Rebecca had become strangers, unified only by their love for Lily, but divided by how to express it. Rebecca saw danger everywhere. Daniel saw opportunity. Their arguments had grown more frequent and more bitter, until separation seemed like the only solution. But he'd never stopped being Lily's father. He called her every night, took her every other weekend when Rebecca allowed it, and fought for every moment of normalcy in her life. This concert was more than just a fun evening. It was proof that Lily could have experiences beyond therapy sessions and protected environments. Saturday arrived with clear skies and unseasonably warm temperatures. Rebecca had barely slept, her mind cycling through every possible disaster scenario. What if someone bumped into Lily in the crowd? What if she got disoriented? What if the music was too loud? What if Daniel got distracted and lost track of her? She checked her phone obsessively throughout the day, half expecting Daniel to cancel or for some catastrophe to prevent the evening from happening. But 6:30 came, and with it, Daniel's familiar knock on the door. Lily was ready long before he arrived, wearing her favorite dress, a soft blue cotton that Rebecca had helped her pick out, with braille labels inside so she could identify it herself. Her hair was brushed until it shone, and she clutched her white cane with nervous excitement. "Remember," Rebecca said as she opened the door, her voice tight, "home by 10:30. "I remember." Daniel smiled at Lily. "Ready, kiddo?" "So ready." Lily breathed. Rebecca watched them walk to Daniel's truck, her heart in her throat. She wanted to call them back, to say she'd changed her mind, to lock Lily safely inside where nothing could hurt her. Instead, she forced herself to stay on the porch, waving even though Lily couldn't see it, until the truck disappeared around the corner. The house felt impossibly empty. Rebecca tried to work, to read, to watch television, but nothing could quiet the anxiety humming through her veins. She checked her phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a call or text that something had gone wrong. In the truck, Lily was vibrating with excitement. "Dad, is this really happening? I'm not dreaming." Daniel laughed. "It's really happening. We're about 20 minutes away. Tell me everything. What does the venue look like?" As Daniel described the Bluebird Cafe, its intimate setting, the famous brick walls covered with photos of legendary performers, the stage barely raised above the floor, Lily drank in every detail. She'd heard recordings from the Bluebird, knew its reputation as a songwriter's haven where music industry professionals discovered new talent. But being there in person, especially to see George Strait, seemed almost too good to be true. "Will there be a lot of people?" she asked. "About 50. It's a really small, special show. And Lily, we're front row. Jack really came through for us." They parked in a spot Daniel had scouted earlier, close to the entrance with minimal obstacles. As they approached the venue, Daniel described everything: the line of excited fans, the marquee announcing the show, the warm glow of lights spilling from the windows. Inside, a staff member named Rachel greeted them. "You must be Daniel Anderson. Jack told us to expect you. And this must be Lily." "Hi," Lily said shyly. "We're so excited to have you here. Your seats are right up front, and if you need anything at all, just let me or any of the staff know. We want to make sure you have an amazing experience." Rachel guided them to their seats, describing the layout as they walked. "The stage is about 3 feet in front of you. The room is set up in a horseshoe shape with tables around the stage. There are about 40 people here so far." Lily settled into her chair, her hands exploring the space around her. The smooth table surface, the placement of her water glass, the slight give of the padded seat. Daniel sat beside her, his hand on her shoulder, grounding her in this unfamiliar environment. "How are you feeling?" he asked quietly. "Nervous? Excited?" I can't believe I'm here." The room gradually filled with the murmur of conversations, the clink of glasses, the scrape of chairs. Daniel described the other patrons, a mix of industry professionals, devoted fans, and locals lucky enough to snag tickets. The atmosphere was respectful, almost reverent, befitting the Bluebird's reputation as a listening room rather than a rowdy bar. At 7:15, the lights dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd. And then, from somewhere to their left, a familiar voice spoke. "Good evening, y'all. Thanks for coming out tonight." Lily's hand found Daniel's and squeezed tight. George Strait was in the room. "This is going to be a little different than what you might be used to," George continued, his Texas drawl warm and genuine. "Just me and my guitar tonight. Some old songs, maybe a few stories. Sound good?" The crowd responded with applause. Lily's heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone must be able to hear it. This was happening. This was real. George took the stage. Daniel whispered a description to Lily, painting a picture of the legendary performer in jeans and a button-down shirt, his iconic cowboy hat left behind for this intimate setting. He settled onto a stool, adjusted his guitar, and began to play. The opening notes of Amarillo by Morning filled the small space, and Lily felt tears spring to her eyes. This song, this voice, had been a constant comfort during her darkest times. Hearing it live, in this moment, was overwhelming in the best possible way. Daniel watched his daughter's face, seeing pure joy for the first time in years. Every choice he'd made, every argument with Rebecca, every fight for more time with Lily, had led to this moment, and it was worth it. George Strait's voice filled the Bluebird Cafe with a warmth that seemed to wrap around everyone in the room. He moved through his catalog with ease. "The Chair. Check yes or no. I Cross My Heart." Each song delivered with the casual mastery of someone who'd performed thousands of times but still found joy in the music. Lily sat motionless, absorbing every note, every word, every subtle inflection in George's voice. She'd memorized these songs years ago, but hearing them live was entirely different. The resonance of the guitar strings, the way George's breath caught slightly before certain phrases, the warmth and texture of his voice without studio polish. It was like experiencing color for the first time. Between songs, George told stories. About writing sessions in Nashville in the early days. About touring with legends who'd since passed. About his family, his ranch in Texas, and the simple pleasures of a life well lived. "You know," he said after finishing "I Just Want to Dance with You," "I've played stadiums all over the world, sold-out shows with tens of thousands of people. But these nights, right here at the Bluebird, these are special. This is where it all started for so many of us, where songs become stories, and stories become connections." He strummed a few chords, his eyes scanning the intimate crowd. "I can see some familiar faces out there. Some of you I've known for years. Some of you I'm meeting for the first time. But we're all here for the same reason. We love music. We love what it can make us feel." His gaze landed on the front row, on Lily sitting beside Daniel, her face tilted upward with an expression of pure wonder. Something about her posture, her stillness, the white cane leaning against her chair, caught his attention. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. Lily's breath caught. Was he talking to her? Daniel leaned close and whispered, "He's looking right at you." Lily, she managed to say, her voice barely audible. George smiled. "Lily, that's a beautiful name. How old are you?" 9. 9 years old and already got good taste in music." The crowd chuckled warmly. "Is this your first show at the Bluebird?" "Yes, sir. It's my first concert ever." Something in George's expression shifted. A softness, a recognition of something special happening. Ever? Well, then we better make it memorable. Do you have a favorite song of mine? Lily didn't hesitate. Troubadour. Troubadour. George's eyebrows raised in pleasant surprise. That song, released in 2008, wasn't one of his biggest hits, but it held special meaning. A reflection on his long career, on the simple act of being a traveling musician sharing stories through song. That's a deep cut. Why that one? Lily's hands twisted in her lap. Because it's about keeping going even when things are hard. About finding beauty in the journey. And because... She paused, gathering courage. Because when I lost my vision 4 years ago, your music helped me remember that I could still have a beautiful journey. The room went completely silent. Even the typical bluebird ambient noise, the soft clink of glasses, the subtle movements of patrons, seemed to pause. George set his guitar down and stood up from his stool. "Come here, Lily," he said softly. Daniel helped Lily to her feet, guiding her toward the stage. She climbed the 2 small steps with Daniel's assistance, her cane tapping lightly against the wood. George took her hand gently. "Thank you for sharing that with me," he said. "Music is powerful, isn't it? It can take us places even when we can't physically go there. It can show us things even when we can't see them." "Yes," Lily whispered. "Your songs help me see the world in a different way. I can see Texas in all my exes live in Texas. I can see the dance floor in The Chair. I can see the sunrise in Amarillo by morning." George's eyes glistened slightly. In his decades-long career, he'd received countless awards, sold millions of albums, earned every accolade the music industry could offer. But this moment, this young girl explaining how his songs had given her vision in her own way, struck him more deeply than any trophy. "Would you like to help me with the next song?" he asked. Lily's face lit up. "Really? Really? Can you sing?" "I try. My dad taught me guitar, and I sing along when I practice." George looked at Daniel, who nodded encouragingly. "Then let's do this together. How about Troubadour? Think you know the words?" "I know every word," Lily said with certainty. George retrieved a second stool and positioned it beside his own. He helped Lily settle onto it, making sure she felt secure and comfortable. The crowd watched in rapt silence, phones out to capture this unexpected, magical moment. "All right, Lily," George said as he picked up his guitar. "I'll start us off, and you join in whenever you're ready. Don't worry about being perfect. Just feel the music." He began playing the opening chords of Troubadour, and his rich voice filled the room. "I still feel 25. Most of the time I still raise a little cane with the boys." Lily listened through the first verse, her body swaying slightly to the rhythm. Then, on the second verse, her voice joined his. Tentative at first, then growing stronger. "Honky-tonks and pretty women, Lord. I've loved that neon light." Her voice was young and untrained but pure, carrying genuine emotion that no amount of technique could manufacture. George adjusted his playing to support her, giving her space when she needed it, harmonizing when she gained confidence. The chorus came, and together they sang, "I'm just a troubadour. I've got a guitar and a saw, and I learned to love the ramblin' and the rodeo, and when my time is up, they'll probably bury me. Standing up with the guitar in my hands, that's me." There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Rachel, the staff member who'd greeted them earlier, was wiping tears from her cheeks. Daniel's face was a mixture of pride and overwhelming emotion. Even the industry veterans, people who'd seen countless performances and considered themselves jaded, found themselves moved by the simple beauty of the moment. As the song ended, the cafe erupted in applause. George put his arm around Lily's shoulders. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said to the crowd, I've been doing this for over 40 years. I've shared stages with legends and performed in front of millions of people. But singing with this brave young lady right here, this is one I'll never forget. Lily's smile could have powered the entire city of Nashville. Thank you, Mr. Strait. This is the best night of my entire life. Call me George, and Lily, keep singing. Keep finding beauty in your journey. You've got something special. As Daniel helped Lily back to their seats, the concert continued. But nothing could top what had just happened. George played several more songs, but he kept glancing at Lily, watching her joy, her complete immersion in the music. During his final number, "The Cowboy Rides Away," Lily sang along softly, her voice blending with the crowd. Daniel held her hand, overwhelmed with gratitude that he'd pushed for this, that he'd given his daughter this perfect, unrepeatable moment. After the show ended and George had left the stage, Rachel approached their table. "George would like to meet you both backstage, if that's okay." They followed her to a small green room behind the stage, where George was signing a few items for venue staff. When he saw Lily, he immediately came over. "I wanted to give you something," he said, and Daniel described the scene to Lily. George pulling out his personal guitar pick, the one he'd used during the show. "I want you to have this. Keep playing guitar. Keep singing. And remember that you can go anywhere with music." Lily clutched the pick as if it were made of gold. "I'll treasure this forever." They talked for a few more minutes, George asking about Lily's music education, Daniel explaining how he'd been teaching her guitar, George sharing encouragement and advice. Before they left, George's manager snapped a few photos of George with Lily, promising to send them to Daniel's email. The drive home was filled with Lily's non-stop chatter. She recounted every moment, every song, every word George had said. Daniel listened, his heart full, knowing that Rebecca needed to hear this too. At 10:25, they pulled up to Rebecca's house. She was waiting on the porch, visible tension in her posture. But when Lily practically leaped from the truck shouting, "Mom! Mom! You'll never believe what happened," Rebecca's worry transformed into curiosity. "Tell me everything," Rebecca said, guiding Lily inside. And Lily did. She described the venue, the intimate atmosphere, the feeling of George's voice filling the space. She talked about being invited on stage, singing Troubadour, receiving the guitar pick that she still held tight in her fist. "He said I can go anywhere with music, Mom. Anywhere." And he meant it. Not in spite of being blind, but just as me, as Lily. Rebecca looked at Daniel over Lily's head, her eyes shining with tears. "Thank you," she mouthed. He nodded, understanding the weight of that gratitude. They'd crossed a threshold tonight, all three of them. The question was, what happened next? Sunday morning arrived with Lily still buzzing from the previous night's experience. She woke early, immediately reaching for the guitar pick George had given her, which she'd placed in a special box on her nightstand. Rebecca, who'd barely slept herself, heard Lily moving around and went to check on her. "Good morning, sweetheart," Rebecca said from the doorway. "Mom, can I practice guitar this morning? I want to work on Troubadour." Rebecca felt something shift in her chest. "Of course. But first, breakfast?" Over pancakes, Lily continued recounting the concert, remembering new details that had surfaced in her dreams. The texture of George's guitar under her fingers when he'd let her touch it backstage. The way the crowd's applause had felt like a wave washing over her. The smell of the venue, wood and coffee, and something indefinably musical. "It was like I could see everything, Mom," Lily said, her voice full of wonder. "Not with my eyes, but with my whole body." "Does that make sense?" "It makes perfect sense," Rebecca said quietly. The doorbell rang at noon. Rebecca opened it to find Daniel holding a manila envelope. "Jack's sister sent these over this morning," he said, handing it to Rebecca. "Photographs from last night." Rebecca opened the envelope, pulling out several professional-quality photos. There was Lily on stage with George, both of them singing, their faces illuminated by pure joy. Another showed George handing Lily the guitar pick, his expression tender and fatherly. A third captured the moment after the performance, Lily's face glowing with happiness as she returned to her seat. "Can I come in?" Daniel asked hesitantly. Rebecca stepped aside, and they sat in the living room while Lily practiced guitar upstairs. The music drifted down. She was already working through Troubadour, her fingers fumbling at first, but growing more confident with each repetition. "I owe you an apology," Rebecca said finally. "You were right. About this, about a lot of things." Daniel looked surprised. "Becca? No. Let me say this." She set the photos on the coffee table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I've been so afraid since Lily's diagnosis. Terrified, actually. Every day, I wake up thinking about everything that could go wrong, every way she could get hurt, and I've let that fear control everything. Her life, my life, even our marriage. Fear is normal, but it can't be everything." Rebecca's voice cracked, looking at these photos, seeing her so happy, so alive. "Daniel, I haven't seen her like that in years, maybe ever, and I realized that in trying to protect her from getting hurt, I've been hurting her in a different way." Daniel leaned forward. "You were doing what you thought was right. You've been an amazing mother, Becca. The therapies, the education, the support. Lily has thrived because of what you've provided. She's thrived in spite of my limitations, not because of them." Rebecca wiped at her eyes. "Last night, while you two were at the concert, I sat here imagining every disaster. And you know what the actual disaster would have been? If I'd said no. If I'd kept her from having that experience because of my fear." They sat in silence for a moment, the guitar music from upstairs filling the space between them. "I've been thinking," Rebecca said slowly, "about making some changes, cutting back on some of the therapy sessions, letting Lily have more normal kid experiences. Maybe even—" She paused, the words difficult. "Maybe even reevaluating our custody arrangement. You should have more time with her." Daniel's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. I've been holding on so tight I haven't let her breathe. And that stops. Now." Upstairs, Lily had progressed from practicing to creating. She was working on her original song, the one Rebecca had heard her playing the other day. But now it had new layers, new confidence. The music was still simple, but it carried a weight of emotion and experience that hadn't been there before. Later that afternoon, Rebecca's sister, Claire Mitchell, stopped by for their regular Sunday visit. Claire was 2 years younger than Rebecca, a pediatric nurse with 3 children of her own. She'd been supportive throughout Lily's diagnosis, but had gently tried to point out when Rebecca's protectiveness veered into overprotection. "You seem different today," Claire observed as they sat on the back porch, watching Lily navigate the backyard with her cane, something Rebecca usually discouraged for fear of her tripping on uneven ground. "Something happened yesterday," Rebecca said, and she told Claire about the concert. Claire listened, her expression shifting from surprise to joy to knowing recognition. "And how do you feel about it?" "Terrified, relieved, ashamed, grateful, all of it at once." Rebecca watched Lily settle onto the grass, her face turned toward the pale December sun. "I've spent 4 years building walls around her, convincing myself it was for her protection. But I know, it was really about protecting myself. If I could control everything, I wouldn't have to face the reality that I can't control anything that matters. Letting go is the hardest part of parenting," Claire said gently. And with Lily's situation, it's even harder. But Becca, she's going to grow up. She's going to want independence, experiences, maybe even want to take risks. You can't prevent that. You can only prepare her for it. I know. I'm starting to understand that. That evening, after Claire left, and Lily was doing her homework, Rebecca made a decision. She called Dr. Patricia Holloway, Lily's primary therapist, and scheduled a meeting for Monday morning. Dr. Holloway's office was in Green Hills, a comfortable space decorated with tactile artwork and accessible features. Rebecca had been coming here since Lily's diagnosis, first with Lily, then later for her own counseling sessions to help cope with the changes in their lives. "Rebecca, what's on your mind?" Dr. Holloway asked as they settled into the familiar chairs. Rebecca explained everything: the concert, Lily's joy, her own realizations about how fear had been driving her decisions. Dr. Holloway listened without interruption, her expression thoughtful. "What you're describing is a very natural parenting journey, especially in the context of childhood disability. Most parents go through a similar arc: initial trauma and grief, overprotection, and finally, acceptance and integration. But I feel like I've been stuck in the overprotection phase for 4 years. Sometimes we need a catalyst to move forward. It sounds like Saturday night was that catalyst." Dr. Holloway pulled out her notes on Lily's case. "Let's talk about what integration might look like for your family. What changes are you thinking about?" Over the next hour, they developed a plan. Reduce Lily's therapy schedule from 6 days a week to 3, focusing on the most essential skills. Enroll her in a mainstream school program for blind and visually impaired students, instead of the exclusively homebound education she'd been receiving. Connect her with other children her age, including sighted children, through recreational programs. "What about Daniel?" Dr. Holloway asked. "Have you thought about how he fits into these changes? I want him more involved. We've been doing every other weekend, but that's not enough. Not for Lily, and honestly, not for him either. How do you think he'll respond?" "I think he'll be shocked. We've fought about this for years, and suddenly I'm agreeing with everything he's been saying." Rebecca smiled ruefully, "But it's the right thing to do." That evening, Rebecca invited Daniel over for dinner, their first meal together as a family since before the divorce. Lily was overjoyed, chattering through the entire preparation about a Braille book she was reading and a new chord progression she'd learned. Over spaghetti, Lily's favorite, Rebecca laid out her plan. Both Lily and Daniel listened in stunned silence as she described the changes she wanted to make. "You're serious about this?" Daniel asked carefully. "You're not going to change your mind tomorrow?" "I'm serious. I've already talked to Dr. Holloway. We're implementing changes starting next week." Lily's face was cautious but hopeful. "Does this mean I can do more things? Like maybe join a music group?" Rebecca confirmed. "There's an organization called Notes of Nashville that does musical education for children with visual impairments. They meet twice a week." "Really? Mom, that would be amazing!" As they cleared the dishes after dinner, Lily helping with practiced ease, Daniel pulled Rebecca aside. "Thank you," he said simply. "I know how hard this is for you." "It's not hard. It's necessary. And Daniel, I'm sorry. For the past 4 years, for the fighting, for not seeing what Lily needed, for not seeing what you were trying to tell me. We were both doing our best with an impossible situation. Maybe, but from now on, let's do our best together." Over the following weeks, Rebecca began implementing changes. She reduced Lily's therapy schedule, weathering the concerned calls from some of the specialists who worried about regression. She enrolled Lily in Nashville School for the Blind's mainstream integration program, which would start after the new year. She adjusted her work schedule at Platinum Records to have more flexibility for Lily's activities. Most significantly, she and Daniel worked out a new custody arrangement, alternating weeks instead of every other weekend, with both parents equally involved in decision-making. The changes weren't without challenges. Lily had moments of overwhelm as her world expanded beyond the familiar boundaries. Rebecca had panic attacks when Lily tried new activities. Daniel struggled with the increased responsibility after years of fighting for more time. But slowly, gradually, they found a new rhythm. One afternoon in late December, Rebecca picked Lily up from her first session at Notes of Nashville. The program director, Mr. James Foster, a blind musician who'd been performing in Nashville for 20 years, had nothing but praise. "Your daughter has real talent," he told Rebecca. "Not just technical skill, but emotional depth. She connects with music on a level most children her age don't." In the car, Lily was bubbling with excitement. "Mom, there were 5 other kids there and we played together. Mr. Foster said we're going to perform at a community center in January. Can I do it? Please?" Rebecca felt the familiar flutter of anxiety, a public performance with variables she couldn't control. But she pushed it aside. "Of course you can do it." "Really? You're not worried?" "Oh, I'm terrified. But that's my problem, not yours." Lily laughed, and Rebecca marveled at how much more often she heard that sound these days. January arrived with unusual cold for Nashville, temperatures dipping into the teens and bringing a rare dusting of snow. Lily stood at the living room window, a spot she'd taken to frequenting lately, though Rebecca had initially questioned why, since she couldn't see the view, with her hand pressed against the cold glass. "Tell me what it looks like, Mom," Lily said. Rebecca joined her at the window. "Everything is white. The trees look like they've been dusted with powdered sugar. Our neighbors' Christmas lights are still up, and they're twinkling against the snow. The sky is that specific shade of gray that happens when it's about to snow more, like a soft blanket." Lily absorbed the description, building a picture in her mind. "Can we go outside?" The old Rebecca would have said no. Too cold, too slippery, too dangerous. The new Rebecca, still learning to manage her fear, said, "Bundle up." They spent an hour in the front yard, Lily carefully navigating the unfamiliar texture of snow under her cane, laughing when she slipped but caught herself, her face turned up to catch snowflakes on her tongue. Rebecca watched, her phone in her pocket. Old habits died hard, but increasingly able to let Lily explore without constant intervention. Daniel arrived to pick up Lily for his week, and he joined them in the snow, engaging in a snowball fight that left all 3 of them laughing and cold. It was a moment of simple family joy that would have been impossible just months before. The community center performance was scheduled for the 3rd Saturday of January. As the date approached, Lily practiced constantly, both the group pieces arranged by Mr. Foster and her own original song, which she'd finally finished. "Will you play me your song?" Rebecca asked one evening as they sat together after dinner. Lily retrieved her guitar, settling into the familiar position on the couch. "It's called What I See," she said. "I wrote it after the concert." Her fingers found the strings, and she began to play. The melody was simple but haunting, her young voice carrying words that made Rebecca's throat tighten. "Some folks see with their eyes, blue skies and fireflies, but I see with my heart instead. The music in what is said, I see the love in a father's voice, the strength in making a choice, the light in a stranger's song, the courage to belong. What I see is more than sight. It's the sound of wrong made, right? It's the feel of a guitar pick. It's the moment the world clicks. And I see a future waiting for me." When the song ended, Rebecca was crying. "Lily, that's beautiful. You're incredible." You think it's good enough to perform? I think it's better than good enough. I think it's perfect. The night of the performance arrived. The community center in East Nashville was packed. Families of the performing students, local community members, and a surprising number of music industry professionals who'd heard about the program through Nashville's tight-knit music network. Rebecca sat in the third row beside Daniel and Claire, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She'd done well with her anxiety leading up to this night, but now, minutes before Lily would take the stage, the fear threatened to overwhelm her. "She's going to be amazing," Daniel whispered, squeezing her hand. "What if she forgets the words? What if she trips going up the stairs? What if she's brilliant, and we get to witness it?" Claire interrupted gently. "Becca, breathe." The lights dimmed. Mr. Foster took the small stage, explaining the program and introducing the young musicians. First came a group performance, 3 students on guitar, 1 on keyboard, 2 singing. They performed a medley of classic country songs, their execution not perfect, but filled with genuine enthusiasm. Then it was time for solo performances. A 13-year-old boy played a complicated piano piece. A 12-year-old girl sang "Amazing Grace" with a voice that belied her years. And then Mr. Foster announced, "Our final performer tonight is one of our newest students, but she's already shown remarkable talent and courage. Please welcome Lily Anderson, performing an original song." Lily walked to the stage with her cane, her steps confident despite her obvious nerves. Mr. Foster helped her get settled, making sure her guitar was properly positioned and her microphone adjusted. For a moment, Lily sat in silence, her head slightly bowed. Rebecca's heart hammered. Was she freezing? Forgetting the words? About to run off stage? Then Lily lifted her head, her face toward the audience she couldn't see but could feel, and began to play. "What I See" filled the community center, and the room went absolutely still. Every parent, every sibling, every industry professional sat transfixed as this 9-year-old blind girl sang about vision that transcended sight, about seeing the world through sound and touch and emotion. Rebecca watched her daughter, this brave, talented, remarkable child, and felt something break open inside her. Not breaking in a painful way, but like a door that had been locked for years suddenly swinging wide, letting in light and air and possibility. When Lily finished, the applause was thunderous. She stood, bowing slightly, a radiant smile on her face. As she made her way off stage, Rebecca saw what she'd been too afraid to see before. Lily didn't need protection from the world. She needed the opportunity to engage with it. After the performance, people swarmed Lily with congratulations. Other parents, students from the program, even some of the industry professionals who'd been in attendance. A woman from Nashville Public Radio asked if Lily might be interested in being featured in an upcoming segment on youth musicians. "What do you think, Mom?" Lily asked, turning toward where she knew Rebecca stood. Rebecca looked at Daniel, who raised his eyebrows in a "your call" expression. She took a breath. "I think that sounds wonderful." The interview aired 3 weeks later. The host, Melissa Chen, spoke with Lily about her musical journey, her experience with George Strait, and her philosophy about seeing the world differently. When asked what advice she'd give to other children with disabilities, Lily said, "I'd tell them that being different doesn't mean being less. It means being you in your own way, and that's actually pretty cool." The segment went viral, at least by NPR standards. Within days, Lily had received emails from blind and visually impaired children around the country, thanking her for her words. A music school in Memphis invited her to speak to their students. A prominent music therapist asked if she could reference Lily's story in an upcoming paper. Through it all, Rebecca worked to maintain balance. She still worried that would never completely go away, but she'd learned to distinguish between reasonable caution and paralyzing fear. She'd started seeing Dr. Holloway regularly for her own therapy, addressing the trauma of Lily's diagnosis and her own need for control. Her relationship with Daniel had evolved into something neither quite expected. Not romance, but a genuine friendship built on mutual respect and shared love for their daughter. They co-parented smoothly, communicating openly about decisions big and small, and celebrating Lily's achievements together. One evening in late February, Rebecca received an unexpected email. It was from George Strait's management team. "Dear Miss Anderson," it read. George was deeply moved by his encounter with Lily last December and has followed her story through mutual friends in the Nashville music community. He would like to invite Lily to be a special guest at his upcoming concert at Bridgestone Arena in March. She would have VIP access and, if she's interested, the opportunity to join him on stage during the encore. Please let us know if this is something Lily would enjoy. Rebecca read the email 3 times, her heart racing. Bridgestone Arena. 20,000 people. A stage bigger than anything Lily had experienced. Every protective instinct screamed danger, but she recognized it now for what it was. Fear, not wisdom. She called Daniel immediately. "You're not going to believe this." After she read him the email, there was a long silence on the other end. "Becca, this is huge. This is, wow. I know, it's terrifying. But I'm going to say yes. We're going to say yes." That night, when Lily came home from Daniel's place, Rebecca sat her down. "I need to talk to you about something. Something big." She explained the invitation, watching Lily's face transform from curiosity to disbelief to pure, unbridled joy. "The arena? With 20,000 people? Mom, is this real?" "It's real. But Lily, this is your decision. It's going to be overwhelming. The crowd, the noise, the scale of everything. If you don't want to do it, that's completely okay." Lily was quiet for a moment, her fingers absently tracing the guitar pick from the Bluebird that she now wore on a chain around her neck. "Will you be there?" "Every second. Me and your dad both." "Then yes. Absolutely yes. Mom, this is a dream I didn't even know I could have." The weeks leading up to the concert were a whirlwind. George's team sent detailed information about the venue, the schedule, and what Lily could expect. They arranged a rehearsal the day before the show so Lily could familiarize herself with the massive stage. Mr. Foster from Notes of Nashville offered to help Lily prepare, working with her on projecting her voice for a large venue and managing performance anxiety. Rebecca threw herself into preparation, but this time it was different. Instead of trying to eliminate risk, she focused on giving Lily tools to handle challenges. They practiced deep breathing for anxiety. They role-played what to do if Lily felt overwhelmed. They talked openly about fear and excitement and how sometimes they felt exactly the same. The night before the concert, Rebecca couldn't sleep. She found herself on Lily's bedroom floor at 2 in the morning, watching her daughter sleep peacefully. No anxiety creasing her features. "When did you get so brave?" Rebecca whispered. The day of the concert arrived. The rehearsal that afternoon went smoothly. George was there, patient and encouraging, as Lily navigated the enormous stage with her cane, learning the layout and the distance from the wings to center stage. "You're a natural," George told her. 20,000 people or 50, you've got that thing that can't be taught. You connect with the audience through your authenticity." "I'm really nervous," Lily admitted. "Good. That means you care. The day you stop being nervous is the day you stop giving your all." He paused. "Lily, I want you to know something. When I was young, just starting out, I was told I'd never make it. Too traditional, they said. Not exciting enough. But I kept going because I believed in what I was doing. You remind me of that belief. Don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't do. That evening, Rebecca, Daniel, and Claire sat in special VIP section while Lily waited backstage with George's team. The arena filled with fans, the energy palpable and electric. Rebecca's phone buzzed constantly. Friends who'd heard about Lily's appearance, colleagues from Platinum Records, even some journalists asking for comments. She turned her phone off. Tonight was about Lily, not publicity or professional networking. The lights went down. The crowd roared, and George Strait took the stage. For 90 minutes, he delivered a masterclass in country music performance. Hit after hit, the crowd singing along, the production massive yet somehow still intimate. Rebecca watched it all with divided attention, part of her mind always on Lily backstage, wondering how she was feeling, if she was scared, if she was okay. Finally, George addressed the crowd. I want to tell you all about someone special I met a couple months ago. Her name is Lily Anderson. She's 9 years old, blind, and has more courage and talent than most musicians I've known in my 40-plus years in this business. The arena went quiet, 20,000 people listening intently. A few months back, at a small show at the Bluebird Cafe, Lily and I sang together, and she reminded me why I do this, why we all do this. Music isn't about seeing, it's about feeling. It's about connecting. It's about finding beauty in unexpected places. He paused. Lily's here tonight, and I'm hoping she'll join me for one more song. What do you say? Can we get Lily out here? The crowd erupted in applause. From the wings, guided by a stage manager, Lily appeared. She walked slowly, carefully, her cane tapping against the stage, but her head was high, her face turned toward the sound of 20,000 people cheering for her. Rebecca's hands were clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Daniel put his arm around her shoulders. She's got this. George met Lily halfway across the stage, taking her hand and guiding her to a stool that had been set up next to his. A microphone was positioned perfectly. They'd practiced this exact setup that afternoon. How are you feeling? George asked, his voice private but picked up by the microphones. Scared, excited, both. Perfect. He addressed the crowd again. We're going to do a song Lily wrote, an original called What I See. I heard it for the first time last week, and folks, it's something special. So I want you all to listen, really listen, to what this young lady has to say. The arena fell silent. Lily positioned her hands on her guitar, a beautiful acoustic that George's team had provided, perfectly sized for her and already in tune. She took a breath, and she began to play. Her voice, amplified across the massive sound system, filled Bridgestone Arena. Some folks see with their eyes blue skies and fireflies, but I see with my heart instead the music in what is said. 20,000 people listened in absolute silence as Lily sang about her experience of the world, about loss and adaptation and finding beauty in unexpected ways. George accompanied her softly on his guitar, supporting without overpowering, his expression one of genuine admiration. Rebecca watched through tears. This was her daughter, this brave, talented, remarkable child who she'd almost kept locked away out of fear. How close had she come to denying Lily this moment? How many other moments had already been lost? But dwelling on the past wasn't productive. Dr. Holloway had helped her understand that. What mattered was moving forward, making different choices, building a different future. As Lily reached the final chorus, George began harmonizing with her, his legendary voice blending with hers in a way that gave her melody weight and depth. What I see is more than sight. It's the sound of wrong made right. It's the feel of a guitar pick. It's the moment the world clicks. And I see a future waiting for me. The final notes faded. For a heartbeat, the arena was silent. Then the applause came. Not polite, not merely appreciative, but thunderous, overwhelming. A standing ovation that went on for minutes. People weren't just clapping for a good performance. They were celebrating something deeper: courage, authenticity, the transcendence of limitation. George stood, helping Lily to her feet. "Ladies and gentlemen, Lily Anderson!" The applause intensified. Lily stood there, unable to see the standing crowd but feeling their energy, hearing their appreciation, understanding in that moment that she'd connected with thousands of people through nothing more than her truth and her music. As she made her way off stage, guided by the same stage manager, the crowd continued cheering. George finished his set with 2 more songs, but everyone knew what the real highlight had been. Backstage, Lily was immediately surrounded by people. George's band members, production staff, even some of the opening acts who'd stuck around to watch. But she was looking for only 2 people. "Mom? Dad? We're here, baby!" Rebecca called out. And then Lily was in her arms, both of them crying and laughing simultaneously. "Did you hear them?" Lily asked. "All those people?" "We heard them," Daniel said, joining the embrace. "You were incredible." George appeared, having come off stage for the night. "Lily, that was something I'll never forget. Thank you for sharing your gift with my audience." "Thank you for believing I had something to share," Lily replied. Later, after the crowd had dispersed and the arena was nearly empty, Rebecca, Daniel, and Lily sat in the now quiet VIP area. The massive space felt different without the energy of 20,000 people. Bigger somehow, but also more intimate. "I can't believe that just happened," Lily said, her voice tired but happy. "I sang for 20,000 people." 20,000? "You didn't just sing," Rebecca said. "You moved them. You showed them something they needed to see." "Mom, are you okay? You're not worried anymore?" Rebecca laughed. "Oh, I'm worried. I'll probably always worry. But I'm learning that worry doesn't have to control me. And more importantly, it doesn't have to control you." They drove home through Nashville's downtown, the city lights creating patterns that Rebecca described to Lily in detail. For the first time in years, the drive felt not like a journey from one safe space to another, but like a small adventure within a larger life full of possibilities. Over the following months, Lily's life continued to expand. She became a regular at Notes of Nashville, developing friendships with other blind and visually impaired children. She started attending the mainstream integration program at Nashville School for the Blind. Nervous at first, but quickly adapting to the new environment. She even joined a recreational soccer league specifically designed for blind athletes, something that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. Rebecca continued her work at Platinum Records, but with better boundaries. She learned to leave work at work, to be present for Lily's activities without constantly checking her phone or worrying about the office. Her colleagues noticed the change. She was still excellent at her job, but she was also calmer, more balanced. Her relationship with Daniel evolved into a genuine co-parenting partnership. They celebrated Lily's successes together, supported each other through challenges, and even managed to laugh about their past conflicts. They would never be romantic partners again, but they'd become something better. Friends united by love for their daughter. One April evening, 6 months after the Bridgestone Arena concert, the 3 of them sat on Rebecca's back porch. Lily was practicing guitar, while Rebecca and Daniel talked about logistics for an upcoming father-daughter camping trip. Something Daniel had proposed, and Rebecca had, after only minimal anxiety, Agreed to. Did you ever think we'd be here? Daniel asked quietly. Planning a camping trip? Lily performing in front of thousands of people? Us actually getting along? Rebecca shook her head. Never. 6 months ago, I would have said this was impossible. What changed? I did. Or maybe I stopped trying to control everything and started trusting instead. Trusting you, trusting Lily, trusting that the world isn't always as dangerous as my fear tells me it is. Lily finished her song and set down her guitar. What are you two talking about? About how proud we are of you, Rebecca said. About how far we've all come. Can I tell you something? Lily asked. When I first lost my vision, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd never be able to do anything real, anything important. Mom, you tried so hard to make everything safe and comfortable. And I know you did it because you love me. But it felt like you thought I couldn't handle real life. Rebecca's throat tightened. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I was so scared of losing you. But you can't lose me by letting me live. You can only lose me by holding so tight I can't breathe. Lily's voice was gentle, wise beyond her years. What George taught me, what the concert taught me, what this whole experience taught me, is that I'm not defined by what I can't do. I'm defined by what I choose to do, despite the challenges. When did you get so smart? Daniel asked, his voice thick with emotion. I've always been smart. You guys just started listening. Lily grinned to show she was teasing. They sat together as the sun set, Rebecca describing the changing colors of the sky, orange melting into pink, then purple, then deep blue. Lily listened, building her own mental picture, adding details from her other senses, the cooling air on her skin, the evening bird song, the smell of Rebecca's garden flowers beginning to bloom. This, Rebecca thought, was what she'd been missing. Not grand moments or major achievements, but simple evenings with her daughter and ex-husband, watching the world change and change with it. She'd spent so long trying to freeze time, to keep everything safe and controlled, that she'd nearly missed the beauty of letting go. I love you both, Lily said suddenly. Thank you for letting me be me. Thank you for being you, Rebecca replied, and for being patient while I figured out how to let you. As the stars began appearing in the darkening sky, Rebecca felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Genuine peace. Not the false peace of rigid control, but the deeper peace of acceptance. Acceptance that life was unpredictable, that her daughter was strong, that letting go was an act of love, not abandonment. Lily would face challenges ahead. That was inevitable. But she'd also face triumphs, joys, and experiences that Rebecca couldn't predict or control. And that was okay, more than okay. It was necessary. The girl who'd been too afraid to let her daughter attend a concert was gone. In her place was a woman who was learning to say yes, to trust, to believe that love sometimes meant opening your hands and letting someone fly. And Lily? She was just beginning. Her music continued to evolve, her confidence growing with each performance and each new experience. She'd been invited to speak at conferences about disability and inclusion. A documentary filmmaker wanted to do a short film about her story. A music producer had approached about recording some of her original songs. But more than any of that, Lily was simply living, making friends, learning, exploring, being a 9-year-old girl who happened to be blind, not a blind girl who happened to be 9. On a warm Saturday in May, almost 6 months after the Bridgestone Arena concert, Rebecca found herself at another performance. This time, it was a small showcase at Notes of Nashville, nothing as grand as an arena show, but no less meaningful. Lily performed 3 songs, including a new original piece called Opening Doors. As Rebecca listened to her daughter sing about moving forward, about courage and change and growth, she realized that the song could have been about all of them: Lily, Daniel, and herself. They'd all opened doors over these past months. They'd all found courage to change. After the performance, as families mingled and children excitedly discussed their songs, George Strait's manager, Tom Harrison, approached Rebecca. He'd stayed in touch since the arena concert, occasionally checking in on Lily's progress. "George wanted me to tell you something," Tom said. "He says that in 40 years of performing, he's shared stages with hundreds of artists. But Lily is one of the only ones who reminded him why he fell in love with music in the first place. Her authenticity, her courage, those are gifts that can't be taught." Rebecca felt tears spring to her eyes. "Please tell him thank you for everything, for seeing Lily for who she is, not what she can't do. He sees it because you're letting the world see it now," Tom replied. "That takes courage, too." As they drove home that evening, Lily chattering about the performance and making plans with new friends, Rebecca glanced at her daughter in the rearview mirror. The late afternoon sun caught Lily's face, illuminating features that were becoming less childlike and more mature. She was growing up, changing, becoming who she was meant to be, and Rebecca was learning to let her. "Mom," Lily said suddenly, "do you remember what you used to say when I was first diagnosed? You used to say, 'We'll get through this.' I remember. I think we did. We got through it. And now, we're not just getting through anymore. We're actually living." Rebecca pulled into their driveway, put the car in park, and turned to face her daughter. "You're right. We are living. And Lily, I wouldn't change a single thing about this journey. Not the fear, not the mistakes, not even the hard parts. Because it brought us here, to this moment, to this life." "Me neither," Lily said. "Well, maybe I'd change the part where you wouldn't let me skip therapy sessions." She was grinning, teasing. "Fair point," Rebecca laughed. They went inside together, Lily leading the way with her cane, moving through the house with the confidence of someone who knew every corner, every piece of furniture, every doorway. This was her space, her home, but it was no longer her entire world. That night, after Lily was asleep, Rebecca sat at her laptop, looking through photos from the past 6 months. Lily on stage at the Bluebird, Lily at Bridgestone Arena with George, Lily at her first soccer practice, covered in grass stains and grinning, Lily with her new friends from Notes of Nashville, Lily and Daniel on their camping trip, both of them laughing at some joke Rebecca couldn't hear but could see reflected in their faces. These were the moments she'd almost missed. These were the memories that would never have existed if she hadn't learned to let go of her fear. She created a new folder on her computer and labeled it "Opening Doors." Then she began to write. Not a professional document or a work email, but a letter to Lily that her daughter would read when she was older. A letter about fear and love, and the courage it takes to let someone you love live their own life. "Dear Lily," she wrote, "by the time you read this, you'll be grown. Maybe you'll have your own children, and you'll understand the terror and joy of loving someone so much that you want to protect them from everything. But I hope I've taught you, both by my mistakes and my eventual corrections, that protection isn't the same as love. Love is letting go. Love is trusting. Love is believing that the person you love is strong enough to handle their own life, even when it's hard, even when it's scary." She wrote for hours, the words flowing easily, honestly. When she finally saved the document and closed her laptop, the house was quiet except for the usual nighttime sounds. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic, the soft sigh of the heating system. But there was another sound too, so faint she almost missed it. Lily, in her room, playing guitar, not practicing anything specific, just creating music for the joy of it, the notes drifting through the quiet house like a promise. This was her daughter, not broken, not limited, not defined by what she couldn't see. Just Lily, unique and talented and brave, writing her own song for the world to hear. And Rebecca was finally learning to listen,